Hello 7 Commanders, and welcome to another Star Citizen video. My name is Scary Spikes, and today we're going to be taking a look at the beautiful Spartan that I talked about on a previous video but never actually made a video about. So that's what we're going to be doing this week. Before we get started, though, a huge thanks to all of my wonderful channel members and patrons that make these videos possible. If you'd like to help support me in what I do and you'd like to do so directly, you can do so with the link down below. It takes you to Patreon. You can become a patron there and help support me and get awesome perks, or you can click the blue join button that's right next down to the red subscribe button just below the video to become a channel member here on YouTube. Thanks for all your support, and let's go ahead and get started with this video. So currently I've got the Anvil Spartan stored and transported in my M2 Hercules Starlifter. This is arguably a really great place to have your Spartan, as it does definitely make things a lot easier when you're trying to deploy a crew into some place on a planet, for example, like a bunker. So this thing is really cool. We're going to go ahead and get started, as I said, with the exterior tour. There's a lot to see. I'm going to give you a quick once-over on what this looks like on the outside, but it looks really cool. It's got 3 entrances and exits. It's got a very generous canopy out front, and we do also have a number of lights. So we have 2 very big headlights right up here at the very front. We do also have some auxiliary lights, and this can also be found on other vehicles built by Anvil on the Atlas platform, such as the Centurion, the one that we made a video about not too long ago, as well as the Ballista should have that as well. We do have a nice little skid plate up front here. I know it's a little bit hard to see because we're inside, but this skid plate does help to make the Spartan a bit more rugged, and it helps to protect it against any kind of damage from the bottom. It's pretty nice to have that, especially since the axles tend to be a little bit higher as well, which lends this vehicle to be pretty decent in off-road situations. So having that little skid plate there definitely does help. And having a 45 degree on the front of the cockpit is also very helpful because it allows you to navigate steep terrain that you may have otherwise a lot of trouble getting through. Let's go ahead and continue around the port side of the vehicle. Now, this is going to have the same amount of wheels as the Centurion. We've got 2 on the front left, 2 on the rear left, and then on the port side of the vessel here, it's exactly the same thing. Now, this is pretty cool. This is, of course, one of the lights, but it does actually kind of look like an integrated snorkel or something like that. So I don't know if that's something that they're going to be able to integrate into this later on, but that would be pretty dope, especially since rivers are definitely going to be more of a prominent thing coming in future patches. We've already got one on Microtech, and more are coming. So definitely would be a really cool thing to see. Now, we've got a ladder here, but I don't believe that we can climb it just yet. CIG has mentioned that you are going to be able to climb these ladders later on. There was a design element implemented in the Centurion, the brother of the Spartan, which is the AA variant with the guns on the back, as we've made a video for that about a week or 2 ago. And that one has got a very interesting design concept on it, where it's got like a bit of a plate that's protecting it that you're able to open, and then that would allow you to climb the ladder. Now, what's interesting about that is it's just a nice way to implement a design feature to hide the lack of another feature. So that's actually very interesting. This one doesn't have it. You can't climb up on the ladders just yet, but you should definitely be able to at some point in the future. Now, this is what looks to me like some storage here. Unfortunately, we can't really click on any of this stuff here, but this is really cool. Looks like we might be able to have some kind of storage in there, but reaching that storage might be a whole nother story. Moving towards the back here, we can see that we've got one of the other ingress and egress points here. This is going to be the main egress and ingress point for the crew in the back. We've got a number of seats. We'll go over a little bit more detail once we are inside as to how many seats are there and what the accommodations are for the crew. But we do have some nice reflectors, and this is a very symmetrical vehicle as well, so you'll see on both sides it's going to be exactly the same. We've got some nice big red brake lights as well, and some beautiful angular shapes to the actual structure of the Spartan on the back here. Now, we do have a ramp that extends in sort of 2 plates here. We've got the initial one, which is the door, and then we've got the secondary plate that extends out once the ramp is down. So this is definitely really nice to see. It's very well made and certainly very sturdy for the job to be done by this particular vehicle. We've got another ladder on the side here. Again, we see what looks to be more of those storage containers here in the back, as well as 2 very big wheels. These look like they are very well capable taking you off-road, and in difficult and hazardous conditions. We've got yet another ingress and egress point here on the exterior. This is going to be on the port side of the vehicle. And then, of course, we also have well, just, I don't know, it just looks like a snorkel, but of course, we know that it's just one of the auxiliary lights. We do have another auxiliary light over here. I'm not 100% sure if that's functional. We'll have to test that out once we get inside the vehicle. But we do also have panels before we head inside. So we do have a panel over here for opening and closing the door on this side. And then, of course, we do also have one on the other side as well. That is going to be both towards the rear side of the entrance for both entrances. And then finally, towards the back, it's on the right-hand side of the door as well, right here. So very interesting. It's something that's been around for a little while now. For those of you who don't know, the Spartan has been around since last IAE. I do believe that's when it was announced, and that's when it was available to purchase with LTI, which I did end up getting a couple of those, as well as a couple of 120-month insurance versions. So if you're lacking a Spartan and it's not available and you would like one, feel free to contact me on Discord and we'll see what I can work out for you. Let's go ahead and head inside for the interior tour. All right, so when we make our way inside the vehicle here, the first thing that I'm going to show you guys is the cockpit, and you're going to want to walk towards the front end, or I guess you could call it the bow of the vehicle, and we've got the main cockpit here. So let's go ahead and sit down and I'll show you guys what everything looks like. Now, unfortunately, we're having a little bit of a buggy mess trying to get into the seat, but backing up a little bit and holding F and using the inner thought menu to get in seems to do the job. So very, very abundant amount of screens here. We got a really dope steering wheel as well as some pedals there, which is pretty cool. The pedals do remind me of rudder pedals for an aircraft, so that's definitely interesting. Let's go ahead and have a look. So we have a close and open interior, or exterior rather. We have a press to unlock. What else do we have here? We've got a power on and off on this side. On this side, we've got engine on and off. And then we have the enter the remote turret. So that is really nice. The driver is able to enter the remote turret on the very top. More details on that in a little bit. And then we've got the main screens, as well as, of course, the nice big steering wheel in the middle. So we've got a total of 2 screens on the port, 2 screens on the starboard side, and 2 big screens right in the middle. And they are flanking the 2D radar, which is right in the center of the screen. What's really nice to see as well is that we do see our ammo here for the gun that's on top. That's definitely very nice to have, and it is, like I said, accessible by the pilot. The Scorpion, I believe that's a size 1. I'm not 100% sure. We'll take a look at it when we look at the Urkel.Games stats, but I do believe it is a size 1, at most a size 2. This is a very comfortable cockpit. There's a lot of space here. The viewing from the inside is a little bit restricted on the sides, but it's very generous from top to bottom. I would definitely like, as I said in the Centurion, to see these turn into windows, which would definitely help you a little bit, but it probably wouldn't make a big enough difference, and it would cause a lot of extra work for the developers. So this is pretty good for what it is. Now let's go ahead and step out of the cockpit and look at the rest of the vehicle. Before we check out the rest of the vehicle, let's go ahead and check out the rest of the pilot's cab here, which is definitely very interesting and extremely accommodating, considering that this vehicle is basically made for conflict and war. So let's go ahead and start on the port side, and we'll work our way all around the cab before moving to the rest of the vehicle. As we can see here, the first obvious thing is going to be the automatic door, which you can lock. But we're going to go ahead and get started at this light switch here, which does allow you to dim the lights and make it a little more moody in the cab if that is what creams your Twinkie. Of course, you can go ahead and turn the lights off altogether, which is always very nice as well. And then you can, of course, turn them back on. This is a really nice control to have in the interiors of places within games, because it makes us feel a bit more at home and relaxed. Then it definitely makes the environment feel a bit more lived in and realistic. So that's always nice to have. We're going to go ahead and move on this wall. We have a button that you can click by holding F and then clicking your left mouse button. That's going to give you access to the interior of your inventory that is going to be stored on the Spartan. Now, mind you, there's nothing in place at the moment which allows other people to grab things that you put in here. This is going to be just a personal inventory for you. Other people can put their own items in as well. However, you are not going to be able to get their items, and they're not going to be able to grab yours. So just something to keep in mind. Hopefully, that is something that we can get fixed in the future and have both private as well as communal spaces to store all of our items. Now, moving on with that sort of theme about being able to store your things, you do also have a couple of gun racks here for your own use. Now, don't worry, the people in the back have their own as well, so there's nothing to worry about here, but it's definitely nice to see that we do have like a little closet there and a little gun rack. Sorry for the visual effects glitches on here for the pilot, because then that's going to allow the pilot to be as combat ready as everybody in the back, and that's definitely going to be really good for wanting to do whatever it is you're going to do in the Spartan, and most likely that is going to be some kind of conflict. On the starboard side here, there's not going to be too much to look at. Looks like we might have some emergency gear back here behind this panel, which is not accessible at the moment. We do also have some components that are accessible here. This is going to be all size 0 components, and to be honest, like I said, we're going to be looking at Games just to see the weapons and the stats and stuff like that, but we're not really going to be upgrading any of this stuff because, for one, it's not really worth it, and two, you're going to be absolutely fine for the purposes of whatever you're going to do with the Spartan with everything that comes from the factory. There's no point in spending your money on that. But that's where it is if you ever want to replace it or update it or anything like that. We've got the 2 main ingress and egress points here, and as you can see, we do also have the control panels here. With these control panels, of course, you can open and close the door, and then of course you can also lock it, and you do have lighting controls and stuff like that on each of these panels as well for the midsection of the craft, which is always good to have. We're going to move over a little bit further down, but before we go all the way down, I want to just say that I think that there's a little bit of a wasted space here. I feel like we could have had a little bit of storage space here, maybe a food and drink dispenser or something else. Maybe a little bit of like a luggage rack situation or something, but unfortunately that's not what we have. So hopefully sometime in the future, as we see some reworks happening, which we are expecting, by the way, as I mentioned before, CIG did say that they're going to put a little more functionality into the vehicle. I think they were speaking to mostly the outside with the ladders and stuff, but I'm hoping that they take that opportunity to do a little bit more. Now, we've got the 4 main seats on either side here, so that's going to be a total of 8. And what's really nice, as I said, is in between each of these seats, we do have a place where these folks that are riding in the back can keep their rifles. So very nice to have that. And then a very accessible ingress and egress point with a very similar pad as we saw on both the side ingress and egress points to be able to get out and into the vehicle quickly, get situated, and be on your way to your next assignment. Definitely very nice to have. I would actually recommend that since you're in the interior before you leave the Spartan, make sure to go ahead and set up a button in your controls that opens and closes all your doors, because then if you're heading into an engagement, you really don't want to have to fiddle around with the pads, especially since there's a little bit of collision issues. So I'll show you what I mean. I currently have my button set to the slash button just above the enter key, and I press that, and that is going to go ahead and just close all of the doors on both sides as well as the back of the vehicle. So definitely very nice plus to have there, and especially since if you're pulling up on a bunker and you don't know whether there's going to be aggression coming out of the front door or if there's going to be other players or whatnot, you definitely want to be able to pick up and go, drop people off and get the hell out of there, or vice versa, pick them up and be well on your way before anything bad happens. So that is going to be the interior of the Spartan. Let's go ahead and have a look at the Games stats. We're going to be taking a look at the weapons and all of its stats, and maybe I'll make some recommendations there for upgrades. But to be honest, I don't think we're going to really be upgrading anything except for the weapons on the top of the vehicle, since that tends to go with preference. So let's go ahead and head over to Games, and I'll see you there. All right, everybody, so let's go ahead and take a look at the stats on the Anvil Spartan, and then we're going to head over and head into sort of kitting it out, although to be honest with you, it's going to be very, very light kitting out. It's just going to be changing out the weapons. Everything else is pretty much going to stick to be the same as you got it from the factory. So, Anvil Aerospace, the manufacturer there, it is a vehicle of the ground variety with a size of 4, which is interesting how they came up with that sizing. We do have a crew size of 1, although, like I said, you can have a crew size of 9 in total. We've got the driver up front, and we've got the 4 crew in the back. Now, the crew is not really operating the vehicle, so I do understand why this is a crew of 1. We've got 1 crew and essentially 8 passengers. And then we've got all of the other stats there. You can pause the video or refer to the link in the description down below to get the same information here. 36,276 on the mass. And we've got a pool of just over 33,000 HP, so pretty solid. We've got a bubble shield, which is nice. And then we've got a mild reduction of -4% to physical attacks and -10% for energy attacks. So very interesting. You can purchase this thing for just a little over 255k, and then we're going to be able to go ahead and jump in and get a little bit more information. So let's go ahead and click on load. And there you go. You can purchase this, by the way, at these locations here, the Astro Armada, as well as the new deal. They're going to be the same price here. And very interesting, you know, for a troop transporter to have just under 1300 DPS with 70 alpha damage on the remote turret. That is certainly very impressive. Now, I do have a correction to make here. These are not size 1 guns. They are size 2. For some reason, I kind of get the Scorpions confused with their size 1 counterparts. But that's okay. Potato, potato, whatever creams your Twinkie. I'm going to go ahead and actually change this out. And this is going to be the only thing that we're going to be changing out. And that is going to give us a little bit less DPS, but a little bit more alpha damage. Now, the reason why I'm changing this out is just because I don't like having ammo issues. I know that technically you could potentially do more damage with ballistics, but then with ballistics you're running out of ammo, and there's nothing currently in the game that allows us to store ammo on board and rearm ourselves or have our friends rearm us. So that being said, I think I'm just going to go ahead and stick with lasers until we have such a time that we're going to be able to rearm ourselves or carry ammo on board and do all that. And then I think ballistics will definitely have a place in the ammo variety to choose from when we're considering the weapons on board. Now, we have a bunch of different components here. As I said in the interior tour, these are all going to be size 0, and honestly, really not worth changing out. One of the things that might be worth changing out here for you, though, is going to be the paint there, so go ahead and choose whatever floats your boat there. But other than that, that is going to be my Spartan. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you so very much for watching. If you did enjoy it, please make sure to leave a like on the video to let myself and YouTube know so that it's recommended to other people. And if you haven't done so already, hey, make sure to become a subscriber with notifications turned on, as I do produce weekly videos here. Come by our Discord as well and hang out with us. We have a great community of really nice people there. It's super chill, relaxed, and very casual, so we'd love to see you there as well. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye for this week. Thank you so much again for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.